Welcome back to Owlchemist Tarot, serving tarot straight up. So this is your weekly general weekly reading. I said that backwards for April 25th through May 1st, okay? And I've already pulled a couple cards on TikTok, but I'll go over what I pulled. And so, sorry, just moving my camera. I don't do a lot of editing on my videos. I'm sure a lot of you are like, no shit. But if you're here and you're new, welcome. Please subscribe. If you're a return subby, always appreciate it. So just a little bit of housekeeping before I start pulling the rest of the week, the energy around the rest of the week. Please do not fall for the scammers who pretend to be me. I will never, ever, ever reach out to you directly for any type of service. That's not how I do it. You can only book through me on my website, owlchemisttarot.com. Okay, so I do not reach out to you on DM, Instagram, TikTok. I do not do that. So please don't fall for any scammers, because there's a lot of them who take my content, my name, my logo, and try to make a fake page and scam people out of money. And please don't fall for that, okay? So I've already pulled a few cards, and it was the King of Swords and the Hierophant in reverse. So just to go quickly over this. Many of you are starting to want to break free from the norm, the status quo, the traditional maybe way of thinking, believing, and living. The Hierophant represents large institutions and a traditional lifestyle, right? And I mean, I guess many of you can redefine what traditional is, but maybe working for corporate America, maybe having to be in a house with a white picket fence and having to live in a certain neighborhood, drive a certain car, you know, feeling like you are obligated to get married. Whatever the case is, I feel like with this King of Swords, which represents Aquarius, very rebellious, very intuitive, very intellectual, and also has a very strong streak of independence, doesn't want to follow the rules, wants to carve their own path, set their own parameters, and live in the way that they feel is right for them, not under someone's thumb. So for many of you, you're starting to get suffocated where you're at, where you live, where you work, who you're dating, who you're married to. And I'm not saying that you should throw a relationship away because you're irritated with them. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that you're starting to reevaluate what you actually want. Because what you wanted maybe in your 20s is different than in your 30s and 40s and so on. So with the King of Swords, you are completely turning things up on its side and saying, look, this doesn't fit for me anymore. It doesn't make me happy. It doesn't give me value. It doesn't get me excited. I don't like to go to work every day knowing that it's the same old thing. I'm not challenged. I don't have autonomy. I don't have any freedom. I have no value. I have no say. So many of you are trying to look at that and figure out, what do I want? Really, where do I want to go? And what is ultimately going to make me happy and feel at peace, okay? So let's just pull a few more cards, and then I'll pull around money, career, and relationships to see what that could look like. Remember, this is general, so it may not all happen this week. And for some of you, it's not going to be the right message, and that's okay. You can turn into another video or look for another week. All right, let's see. Hard at work. Yep. Okay. So here is amazing affirmation and reaffirmation of what kind of I just said. First and foremost, if you want change, you got to make it happen. You got to set the wheel in motion. This is not the time for a lightning bolt to come through the sky and hit you in the head and say, hey, there needs to be a change. You feel it within. That's the lightning bolt within you. If you feel like there needs to be a shift or change, then you need to go for it. You need to start making things happen. Are there going to be some humbling moments? For sure. When you're starting, or you're turning into a leaf, or you're completely redirecting yourself, there is a time and place to learn, to become the student, to absorb, to research, to dedicate a lot of time to hone in new skills and talents so you become more comfortable and an expert down the line. With the Eight of Pentacles, if you want change, you're going to have to put in the work to see the fruits of your labor, okay? This is not the time to set for mediocrity. You cannot continue to force yourself to do things that do not resonate with you. The Four of Cups, and it's upright, is usually boredom. It's a little bit of resentment too. Like, I don't want to do this. I hate this. You might be good at your job, but you may not love it, right? And that's just an example. Or for some of you, it's like, I just do the same thing every single day, eat the same breakfast, I drive the same way to work, I, dress in the same, stuff, whatever it is, it's starting to get mundane. And in the reverse, you need to put a jolt in your life. You need to make the shift and change, because then with this 8 of Pentacles and the 4 of Cups, you're forced out of your comfort zone and you don't have time to sit on your laurels and be bored. You have to learn new skills in order to achieve more, okay? And ultimately, if you want something, you have to go for it. There's no growth in the comfort zone, but you have to stand firm on what you want. You have to stand 10 toes down. If you want a big shift, or you want a new job, or you want to go in a different career direction, whatever the case is, you have to believe in it more than any single person. You have to be your biggest cheerleader with the 7 of Wands. Stand up for what you want and go for it. Stand up and be resolute, because if you think that it's not worth it or you doubt yourself, it's all going to go to shit, okay? If you want the change, then you got to make it happen. Bottom of the deck, you have the Fool card. If you can be steadfast and work hard and be consistent and know exactly what's right for you, right, wrong, or indifferent for anyone else, new beginnings around the corner. The Fool card, it is a little bit scary, you know what I mean? It's jumping into something and hoping that you catch yourself. You will land on your feet. You have to believe. The Fool card, it's not about being reckless. It's about being brave. It is trusting yourself that you're making the right decision, because intuitively it feels like you're being pulled and drawn in that direction. And if you ignore that, that's when that Tower energy comes in and kicks you in the ass and forces you in the direction that you really deep down want. So you have to be brave and trust yourself to go for it, okay? So a lot of big shifts this week. And again, I'm not saying that you should be reckless. Be smart, but take the steps, even small steps, to get to where you want to be. Okay. Whew, that was a tongue twister. So I'm going to pull a couple cards around money, career, and your relationships, potentially for some of you. Again, it won't be for all. Okay. All right. I'm going to pull one. Okay. That was on the bottom, so I'll take it just because I saw it. So in the money zone, looks good. You have the 6 of Wands, very victorious, successful. Money might be coming in. Makes sense, because here in the United States, at least, that tax return is usually coming in around this time. So you might have a little bit of chunk of change to work with, and you feel a little bit more confident. Maybe you have a little more breathing room. Be smart, though. This is not the time just to, spend it on silly things. Is it a want or a need? Because ultimately, if you're going to be putting a lot of focus and energy and drive and putting a lot of your time and energy into crafting a new skill, you might need to save a little, because you will spend and invest on yourself, but maybe later down the line. Okay, so just be watchful where you're spending your money. Career, I think for some of you, the light has really dimmed in the career zone. Okay, maybe it's the job, maybe it's the company you work for, and sometimes we just outgrow places. Sometimes we just outgrow positions, and there's not another opportunity for us to jump into, right? So with the 10 of Cups in reverse, this is, ask yourself, are you just there because it's a good paycheck? And for sometimes it is, and you can kind of suck it up. If you're close to retirement, I would say be very thoughtful and careful what you do. Obviously, work with a financial advisor. But for many of you, don't stay where you're not valued. Don't stay where you're unhappy. Don't stay at a job or a place that you're just like miserable, but it's comfortable, it's familiar. Shake things up. Be brave enough to take that leap of faith and trust yourself that you can find something else out there. Now's the time, okay? Spruce up that resume. Start to network. Start to meet people. Ask around, look around, and see what's out there. What might suit you better than what you're in now, okay? Relationships. Interesting energy. So we have the 8, a lot of mental energy, by the way, a lot of swords. You have the 8 of Swords in reverse. So I think for some of you, you're coming to terms on maybe your role in a relationship that you're currently in or previously in. We all have a part to play, okay? It's not always the other person. I mean, it could be, but you also have, skin in the game, especially if you're choosing to stay with somebody. You also have the 6 of Swords in reverse. So I feel like for a lot of you, you're starting to come to terms with maybe why a relationship ended or why it's not going as smoothly as it once was, and maybe where you need to evaluate. Maybe it's time to leave. Maybe it's time to have some really hard conversations. Maybe it's time to come to terms with what you want in a relationship and what you're in is not in alignment. all of you are going to be a little bit different, but if it doesn't feel right, and if it doesn't feel, and I think for some of you, you're coming to terms that if you are in a relationship, it's not moving in the same direction, it's not moving in the direction that you're hoping for, you can't force somebody, right? And I do think that with the Knight of Cups, this is not the time just to, if you're single, not to overextend and just give your emotions or heart to anyone just because you think now you know what you want. Be careful. The Knight of Cups can be a little bit, is known for jumping into things very quickly. Leads with emotion. Almost all emotion. Okay? And I'm only saying that because the swords are in reverse. So it's almost like I shouldn't think so much. I should just go with my feelings and just let it be that. Well, how about we use a balance of both? Okay? When it comes to being in a relationship, I would say you have to ask yourself what you're offering, your emotions, your heart, your time, your energy. Is it enough? Is it worth it? Because if you're not moving in the same direction, right? And you're starting to realize deep down that I have to make this tough decision. I need to come to terms with what I want. And in the relationship that I'm in is probably not it. That is it worth offering that to a partner that you just don't feel in sync? So some hard conversations you might ask yourself and kind of work through. But again, it's better, in my opinion, to cut it off sooner than later, especially if you don't feel like in your heart it's the right person. Okay? So a lot to take in this week. And again, it may not all unfold this week, but please take it with a grain of salt. I hope you enjoyed this reading. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.